Feel free to ask questions if you like, and we'll get started in a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and let everybody get joined on and get your questions ready. And in the meantime, I guess I'll tell you a little bit about me. So you guys know I'm Katrina Martin. I go by the Tax Whisperer. I've been in the tax and accounting business for a long time, well over 20 years. I specialize in tax planning, tax strategy, and tax representation, which means if you owe the IRS and you can't pay them all at once, or you don't think you owe them, then I'm the person to contact to try to help you resolve your differences with them. I will represent you and act as your power of attorney and speak on your behalf. But my passion is the short-term rental space, because I myself am an investor and I love tax planning, and the best place to do that is with real estate investors, because there's so much opportunity to take advantage of tax savings and tax depreciation and accelerated depreciation. So there's so many opportunities for you not to have to split your dollar with the IRS 50%. And so if you've been handing money over constantly and you're not feeling good about that, then you need to talk to me, because we can make sure that you can keep your money in your business. And there's a lot of ways to do that. So we're going to cover a little bit about that tonight. But what I want to mainly talk to you about is we're going to start on this is going to be a weekly series for the next 4 weeks. And I'm going to try to cover off on 4 specific categories that I think would help you really to advance your Airbnb and short-term rental business to the next level, from 5 to 6 figures and 6 to 7 figures, or wherever you want to take it. But you definitely have to implement a tax strategy in that to do that, to actually scale your business, because you can make a lot of money, but if you're not actually properly doing things the right way, you can lose a lot of money too, by having to pay out tons of taxes or pay any penalties because you didn't know the right way to get started. So I'll get started. It looks like it's about 7:03. I'll start in the next 3 minutes. Give everybody time to join. Starting and launching your Airbnb business, of course, is the biggest question that I get in this space is, do I become an LLC? Because that's what everybody tells you to do. And I've come to realize that most people don't even know, at all levels, what that really means. So as far as taxes are concerned, so we know that setting up an LLC is limiting your liability for the property. So say if somebody gets hurt and they decide to sue on your property, it protects your personal assets. It limits your liability. That's the name of it, and that's truly what it does. However, what it doesn't do is it treats you're still a sole proprietor. So as an LLC business, that income that you earn on that business still gets treated on your personal tax return. So it doesn't separate you from that business in that sense, because your 1040 still carries that information over. Now, what's really different about the Airbnb space versus the traditional space? So say if you're a traditional long-term tenant investor, and you own a property, you have rent tenants in it, when you file your taxes, what you would do is consider it a passive income. So it passes to you, and it goes to a Schedule E. So all of that information goes on a Schedule E, right? But in the short-term rental space, because you've treated this as a business and not as a passive business where the money's just coming in, you're actually actively pursuing this as a business, that money gets treated on what's called your Schedule C. So what happens when you have income on a Schedule C? It's active income, it's self-employed income, and you have to pay self-employment tax on it. So there's this 15.3% self-employment tax that you have to pay on that income. So how do you kind of reduce that and not have to have all of your income eaten up with all of the taxes that are associated with it? Because even outside of that space, outside of the self-employment tax, with Airbnb and short-term rental business, you have occupancy taxes, local, federal taxes, local taxes, occupancy taxes. The list goes on. If nothing else is going to get you, taxes will. But what you can do is your expenses offset your earnings. So making sure that you track all of your expenses and all of your earnings, and then actually being able to depreciate some of the things that you purchase, so that it not only helps you in the year that you purchase it, but it helps you over time. But one of the things I wanted to focus on tonight is step one. How do I need to be an LLC to start a short-term rental business? No, you don't need to be an LLC. The LLC helps you as far as liability, because like I said, if somebody sues you, you want to make sure that you're protecting your personal property. The other thing that the LLC does help you with is if you're trying to get business financing, you really want to separate yourself from the business in a lot of outside activity. As far as the inside activity, as far as your taxes, that LLC will still be reported on your personal taxes. But as far as to the world and to banks, you will still be considered a sole proprietor. So LLC still counts you as a sole proprietor. The only time your business would be separated from you the only time your business would be separated from you and your personal finances is if you incorporate your business. So incorporating your business means you decide to say, I want to file as an S corporation. I want to file as a C corporation. I formed this partnership. Now I want to be treated as a partnership. But there's tax implications with all those things. The lowest entry point and the easiest entry point is the LLC formation. So that gets you in the door immediately, and you don't have a whole lot of other things to do because it's going on your personal tax return other than keep track of your information, keep track of your income, and keep track of your expenses, right? And make sure that you cover even though it's a limited liability, the LLC, that doesn't mean that you don't need insurance. You still need liability insurance. That just protects you. If somebody sues you, it's not going to sue your personal assets. It's just going to sue the business assets, but you still need to protect the business itself. So you'll still need to get insurance on your LLC. But step one with your LLC, if you're starting your LLC, file for your LLC. That's your very first step, even before applying for your EIN. Because what can happen sometimes when you file for your LLC, that business name may already be taken by somebody. So whatever state you're trying to register in, they could come back and say, hey, that name's not available for you. There's actually somebody already in the state that has that name, even though they may not be doing anything with it. They already purchased that name for the year. So you don't want to get an EIN number on that already, and that name's not even available to you. So you want to file for your LLC first. Then step two is go for your EIN. And I won't go all off into business credit coaching, but step 3 is filing for a DUNS number, but we'll go into that further at another time. But this is specifically talking about step 1, getting your LLC and making sure that you understand what the tax implications are with that. It still goes on your personal tax return. You do not file 2 separate returns. I've had people come to me with, I've already filed my personal taxes, now I need to file my business. And then I'm like, well, let me see your business documents. Oh, I'm a corporation. And then when I look at their documents, they're LLC. Nope, we need to amend your tax return because now you need to actually put this LLC information onto your personal taxes because it's truly not a separate business. It's really you acting as a sole proprietor for your business. So if you're not trying to do business that way, then there's other options to do that. But the lowest hanging fruit is to file for the LLC. Is it a requirement to start a short-term business? It is not. But it is highly recommended because you want to make sure that you are protecting your assets. Now, what I do want to cover is if you decide to go with something like an S corporation, there are additional taxes that go with that. So if you just say that I want to be an S corporation, I want to separate this business from me 100%, I want to be treated as an employee of this business, I want to get payroll from this business, then that's where you would become an S corporation. Now, I see in the TikTok and Instagram space all the time where people are telling people, just go ahead and be an S corporation. And it's not advised without actually looking at the full scope of what you're doing. Because filing as an S corporation does a couple things. It does separate you from your business. So your business would have its own separate return. And then you would get whatever payroll you have. And then you would file your return with that information. However, you're still the business owner, right? So that means you're responsible for the payroll. And with payroll comes payroll taxes, right? So you need to make sure that you're looking at the full picture of where your income is in the business. Can you substantiate yourself collecting payroll? Can you substantiate paying the payroll taxes, and what's left after that? So becoming an S corporation is not the first step in entering the business space in this particular space, because you don't necessarily know how well you're going to do. You know, you start off with one property, of course you're going to think that it's going to be rented out all the time, and believe me, a lot of times they are. But you don't want to set yourself up where you're already overextending yourself and you want to keep that money in your business when you start off. So the best way to do that is set up as an LLC, but remember, it's going on your personal tax return. I keep saying that only because I keep hearing that's the number one question I get, and that's the number one question I see when I'm on the internet is, do I need to set up as an LLC? You don't have to. You don't have to, but because it is still your person, you're still a sole proprietor, but it does help you substantiate yourself as a business, especially if you're going to be doing the rental arbitrage, if you're going to be subletting a property. Sometimes what you can do, I'm not a teacher of this space, there's other channels for that, but what you can do if you're trying to do the rental arbitrage is a lot of times you'll call the owner of the property and say, hey, I'm XYZ property management company and I'm interested in renting your property. I will be having guests in. Is that okay? I would like to do a 2-year lease, and I'll pay extra dollars over what you're currently asking for the rent to enter that space. And a lot of times that's how you get in that space, to say, I'm going to have cleaning services every time somebody comes in immediately. I have a full staff that's going to make sure your property is A-okay. I'll send you pictures on a quarterly basis of how I'm taking care of your property. Your property will be in better hands than it would ever be with a long-time tenant. So that's how you kind of entice a owner to sublet you to actually rent out the space. But once you've done that, there's still responsibility. So a lot of times what happens is with new short-term rental owners is they think that Airbnb or VRBO, whatever platform you're using, is kind of responsible. They're only platforms. They're basically, that's like buying Microsoft for your computer and then thinking that it's going to do anything. It's not going to do anything. Whatever you do on it, it'll actually perform to that, but it's just a platform. So Airbnb, VRBO, those are just platforms. So basically they're just going to allow you to put your property on there, allow you to set the parameters for it. If it rents out, they collect the payments. They're responsible for making sure that all those things happen. They keep reviews on the clients. They keep reviews on you. And then basically at the end of the year, if you make over $20,000 and have over 200 bookings, they'll send you a form 1099-K at the end of the year. However, if you make under that amount, they don't send you anything. So you're responsible for managing your income and your expenses on your business. And again, you have to think it's just a platform. So they only know what happens on that platform. So they only track the income that they were responsible for collecting. So if you're using multiple platforms, or if you're self-managing and renting yourself, you'll have to manage those things all together. That doesn't count for any expenses that you have going out on your business. So say, for example, of course, there's some huge expenses. The number one expense on the short-term rental space is cleaning. You have to have a cleaning team and a backup cleaning team, because that's your biggest expense, because especially if you have a popular rental spot, because immediately when a group leaves, you're going to be turning over to the next group. So you have, say, somebody's checking out at 12, similar to a hotel, somebody's checking out at 12, the next person's checking in at 4. You got that 4-hour span where you got to get that place back to normal, back like new. So you have to have a clean on staff, and say maybe that person's only staying for 24 hours, the next 24 hours, somebody has to come in and clean up again. So you have to have a cleaning team that you're going to have on call. And like I said, I really recommend having a backup team and having a team that specializes in working with this particular business model, because this is not like any other business model other than a hotel industry. And that's how the IRS treats the Airbnb, the short-term rental business, as like a hospitality and or a hotel industry. And a lot of times people ask, glad I thought about that. A lot of times people ask, when I'm selecting my LLC and I'm selecting my category for my EIN, what should I put? Should I put real estate? Should I put property management? And I won't tell you what to put, but really the IRS treats it as hospitality. So hospitality is similar to the hotel space. And that's really how they treat the short-term business. So you can choose that one if you want. And another thing, a lot of times people in the business credit space will say that if you select the real estate category, that's kind of a more risky one to accept, because a lot of lenders don't like to lend to, a lot of business credit lenders don't like to lend in that space. I don't know how true that is, but that's what the consensus is. But I do know that as far as the short-term rental space in the IRS eyes, it's treated as hospitality. So that's an option there. And then the biggest thing the biggest price points that you're going to cover is in your cleaning space. And then you'll want to have just staff members that are there for any repairs, toilets, backup, plumbers, just things like that. But it's really an absolutely, I can't believe I put everything on no contact. But the biggest thing is to make sure that you are prepared going in, that you have your business plan written out, that you do projections based upon how much you need to invest and how much you need to expect out of that. So there's a lot of mixed messages out there, but a lot of people are in this space to teach you how to get the business, how to get to the bookings, how to find the bookings, how to set them up, how to furnish them. If you don't want to pay for furniture up front, just renting furniture to get something in there really quick. There are business models about this thing that can have you up and running in a place in 24 hours. However, what they don't have in this space is how to treat your income and how to structure your business where you're not paying out more than you're keeping, because you haven't properly structured your business and you haven't properly structured yourself for taxes. So that's where I fill this void. I do have a course coming up starting March 25th, and it'll be called Airbnb Wealth Accelerator. And it'll be to help you not only get started in this space, but to make sure that you're using the best strategies as far as your taxes and your money wise. And just to have a business advisor really jump in and help you to make sure that you're doing the right thing. Because a lot of times I work with a lot of people that are very successful in the short-term rental space. And the biggest question I get from them a lot of times is, it's the most business owners ask the exact same thing. Hey, guys, the biggest thing that they ask is, am I doing my business right? Is there more that I could be doing? I'm making money. The one thing that concerns me is when I hear this one. I'm making money, but I'm just not seeing it. And that's a big concern when you're making the money, but you're not seeing it, because that means that you're spending it as fast as it comes in. And that means that you're hemorrhaging somewhere. And what I do is I'm a specialist at helping you figure out where that leak is and figuring out how to patch it up and make sure that you not only patch it up with the Band-Aid, but actually seal it up where it doesn't leak again, and that we actually help you to grow to the next level. Because it's one thing to be in business, and it's very frustrating if you're in business and doing all the things that you know that you need to do, and you're just not reaping the rewards that you know that you should be reaping. This business is a truly, truly smart and very, very successful model. It's already laid out for you, but you definitely have to know the back end. Where people lose the money in this business is not trying to get the rentals, having people damage the space. That doesn't happen as often as you see and hear about it. People don't want to ruin their reviews on these platforms, because then they can't rent in the future. So that you don't have that as often as people talk about it. I think you hear about the bad ones, but that doesn't happen as often as you want to think about it. Where we lose people doing this business model is because they're making money, but they're not actually seeing it. So they're bringing in the money, but they haven't vetted the proper cleaning companies. So they're not able to rent their space out fast enough. It's taking them too long in between bookings to be able to get the next people in the group. It's taking them too long to find plumbers that they need if there's a toilet backup, so they're going to have to cancel reservations. Canceling reservations is a big no-no on those platforms. Once you start to get those negative reviews from customers on the platform, you lose your rankings on Airbnb space. And think about how many times you've gone on like Airbnb or even like hotels.com. How far back do you go to look at which other options you have. Most people don't go past the first 2 or 3 pages, right? Even on Amazon, if it's not on the first page, we're pretty much not going to see it, right? So if you start to lose your rankings on those platforms, your place doesn't get selected. And if your place isn't getting selected, you have money going out. Okay. If when the place doesn't get selected, when you have money going out, you're just spending money, but you're steady paying, especially if you're subletting a place. Even if you're the owner of the property and you have a mortgage on it, you're spending money on a place that's sitting empty. And that's what you don't want to do. And if you have where your place is constantly booked and you're not actually seeing those profits, if you haven't gotten a 1099K from Airbnb saying that you made $20,000 and greater, then we need to talk, because something's happening and you're losing money somewhere and you can't see it because you're too close to it. But I can immediately look at it and say, oh, you don't have the right cleaning team. You're paying too much for cleaning. Have you vetted other services? Oh, you don't have the right systems in place. You need to automate this because you haven't automated. This is taking you too long to book in between bookings. Oh, you haven't set up a tax strategy. At this point, you should be an S corporation and you haven't switched over to that. Let's get you converted. Oh, you own the property and you haven't actually depreciated all the assets that you've purchased for the property, or you're missing expenses because you're not doing the proper accounting. So there's so many things that can happen that can mess you up and bringing in your bread, but you don't know it because you're, like I said, you're too close to it. And if that's just not your passion, that's just not something you're going to be looking for. I live on numbers. I actually find this stuff exciting. And if that's not what you find exciting, then that's where you have to find the right people to help you make sure you grow in your business. There's no army of one. If anybody that's successful in business, is because they have a team around them that help them be successful. So if you're trying to enter this space and you're considering entering this space, then let me help you be successful. If you're going to do it, you do it right? So invest in yourself if you're investing in this business. I did put a link in my bio that says implementation consultation. So typically I only do 15-minute consultations with potential clients. But for you guys, I know that you're in this space and I have a passion for this space and really helping people get started in it and making sure that they're doing it, or just even if you're already in the space, helping you grow. I put a link in the bio for a 30-minute consultation where we can chat and see if we're a good fit to work together and to see if I can help you. And just book a call and we'll sit and chat and see where you're at. And no matter where you're at in this space, I can help you. But again, look for my course. It'll be launching on the 25th of March. But in the meantime, book a call and we can chat and see if you want to join this program and if I can help you just even in the consultancy space. So I'll leave this open for any questions. Anybody got any questions? I feel like I've been talking forever. You guys can unmute yourselves and ask any questions. Okay, Deshaun, I'm going to inbox you my number as well. Any questions? Don't be shy. All right. Well, again, if you guys are shy, don't worry. I did put a link in my bio. It says implementation call or something, but it's the very first link in my bio. Click that link, book a time, put your number in, and I'll give you a call on that. Find a time in the slots, and we'll set up a time to chat. And I look forward to talking to you guys and working with you, and hopefully helping you. Even if we don't decide that we want to work together, I definitely will help you and guide you to make sure that you're a success in this space. And have a great weekend. Thank you for joining me on this Friday night. I appreciate you all. So look forward to talking to you. And you're welcome. Glad you liked it. So I'll be back next Friday. This week was focused on business formation. Next week is going to be focused on profits. Next Friday at 7. So I'll see you guys then. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Katrina.
You're welcome.